Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Karen Kozia Phillips. C News is live at noon.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed with sport.
Topping the news at this time in a breaking news story. Police are currently on the scene of a murder in Mt Dor. Now, these are some of the images we have received of the scene. Details are still coming in, but C News understands that one man was shot dead on First Private Road in the area. Residents said shots were heard in the area shortly before 11, and when they checked, they saw the body of the man lying in the roadway. We are still to learn the identity of the man, and we'll have more on this as it comes to hand. Well, in some more crime news, 2 people are dead following shooting incidents on Tuesday night. A Claxton Bay woman is dead following a shooting incident late on Tuesday. Now, according to reports, shortly before 8 o'clock, the husband of 33-year-old Melissa Ramkisoon came to the Shogunas police station to report that she had been shot in Felicity by someone she knew. Police were told that the person shot at both of them as they drove, hitting her. Her husband then drove to the police station with her bleeding in the car. Ramkisoon of Cedar Hill, Claxton Bay was already dead by the time officers checked her vitals at the station. A revolver was reportedly found in the car. And in another incident, 27-year-old taxi driver Kendall Trim was fatally shot in Santa Flora on Tuesday evening. Trim of Enterprise Shogunas was taken to the San Fernando General Hospital. He succumbed to his injuries this morning. These 3 murders take the toll to 138. And 2 men have been hospitalized after 2 separate shooting incidents on Tuesday night. In the first incident at around 8 p.m., 22-year-old Adrian Manzano of Kingston Avenue, Lacano Road, Lower Santa Cruz, was shot once in the lower abdomen. The bullet exited his lower back. He was taken to the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, where he continues to receive treatment. And later in Maloney at around 8:25 p.m., maxi taxi driver Dwayne Pico Bab was shot. Bab was leaving building number 14 in Maloney when he was confronted by a gunman. He was shot several times by his assailant. He too was taken to Mount Hope, where he continues to receive treatment. And a 20-year-old man is in hospital following a shooting incident in Lavental early this morning. According to reports, Joshua Blackman was sleeping in a house at a private road when gunmen stormed the place at around 4:30. The men reportedly used a shotgun to blow open a burglar proofing, startling Blackman, who was on a nearby couch. He attempted to flee the gunmen but was shot in the back. Blackman was taken to hospital, where he is still receiving treatment. Officers believe the men broke in to rob Blackman. To other news now, employees of Trinidad Cement Limited staged a demonstration in front of the company's site in Claxton Bay on Wednesday morning to highlight their displeasure regarding several wage issues. The workers say they are disappointed over the company's treatment of them since the CEMEX takeover. Janine Brown reports.
Scenes outside the TCL's Claxton Bay plant this morning from 6:30 to 7 a.m. as workers showed their disgust at the situation facing them on the bargaining table. Wednesday's protest action comes less than 1 month after a meeting between TCL's managing director and the Trade and Industry Minister Paul Gopi Schoon, which saw both parties showing confidence in the financial future of TCL, who was said to be on the verge of bankruptcy before the CEMEX takeover. It's a turnaround branch president of the OWTU, Ahmad Mohammed, believes came largely as a result of the sacrifices made by workers.
Workers would have made further sacrifices and endured tremendous suffering by sacrificing over $37 million for the sustainability and survival of our company, Trinidad Cement Limited. Now that our company is taken over by CEMEX, we see no sense of urgency in repaying this debt owed to workers.
He outlined the several wage concerns they face at present.
There are 3 critical issues. One, the $20 million in shares owed to workers coming out of that same back pay, which is monies we would have already worked for. We are owed back pay from January 2015 to the present, and we are also awaiting, we are longing for the change of our work rates, which need to be updated to come current to the 2014 period.
Mr. Mohammed also expressed concern over alleged industrial malpractice by the company.
With respect to VSEP packages that has been proposed for workers, details of these have not been advanced to the union, but the company has gone ahead and put forward those offers directly to workers, which is a direct breach of industrial relation practice.
The union is expected to meet with TCL executives on Thursday to discuss the concerns raised. For now, Mr. Mohammed says operations at the company will continue as normal. Janine Brown, C News.
This is a C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Minister of Education Anthony Garcia says violence in schools is down despite extensive media reporting on incidents involving students. The minister says the perception that violence in schools has risen due to incidents constantly being highlighted in the media.
Every single incident is highlighted in the media as though we are doing nothing in our schools. And that certainly must be upsetting. If there's a fight in school, if a boy pinch a girl, it has been highlighted. Yet, there are quite a large number of our schools that are doing human service. Our principals and our teachers are dedicated, they are working hard, and many of the gains that they have been able to achieve are just being sidelined.
The minister says, in fact, many of the reported instances occurred outside of the schools. This he attributes to their efforts to stamp out violence in schools.
They know very well that they cannot bring their bad behavior in school because of the restrictions that we have placed on them, and now they are migrating that behavior outside of the school. We have engaged the attention of the community police, and we have engaged the assistance of the parents. Now, again, you mentioned parents. It is important that parents recognize their role in the lives of their children.
Well, Child Abuse Prevention Month is being observed in the month of April, and the Gender and Child Affairs Division in the Office of the Prime Minister is urging the public to speak out against the issue. The month, which is observed internationally, is being facilitated by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. The minister responsible for Gender and Child Affairs spoke on Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago today.
It's a classroom, it's a community, it's a family, it's a society. And if we don't provide the information to ensure that our citizens are empowered to identify the problem, to identify when a child may be at risk, to identify when a community may be at risk, and we will not be doing our role as, as a government and as persons charged with the responsibility of the care and protection of the nation's children.
Now, to sensitize the public on how to detect and deal with child abuse, the division has a series of events they are asking the nation to participate in. Child Development Bertrand Moses detailed some of them.
Throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Another initiative that we're doing is a national bus branding campaign with PTSC. So what we've done is that we've allowed children to paint messages against abuse in their communities, a mural of sorts. And we took photos of these murals that children painted against abuse, and we translated them onto buses. What we envision is that a child that's sitting there, an adult that's just sitting waiting on a bus or just walking throughout a community, can just see something pass, a powerful message saying you need to do something.
To other news now, a Barrackpore man was crushed to death in an accident on Monday afternoon. Reports state 39-year-old Dianan Passad was offloading vehicle parts from a container at Vix Trinidad Limited at Rochard Douglas Road in Barrackpore when tragedy struck. He was attempting to move a tray for a flatbed wrecker with a co-worker when the tray fell from its harness. Passad of Gunners Trace Barrackpore was pinned against the wall of the container. Workers came to his assistance, but his injuries proved too severe. Officers from the Barrackpore police station are continuing investigations. An abandoned two-story house in Diego Martin was destroyed by fire on Monday. The house on the corner of Mason Road and Diego Martin Main Road was destroyed after a homeless man who shelters there lit a flambeau which fell over. Another homeless man staying at the house attempted to put out the blaze but only succeeded in gaining minor injuries. Now here's Ian Wallace with your afternoon weather.
The dry season carries on, and through the month of April the breeze is also a factor, but so too is the beginning of the Saharan dust, which runs from April into August. And today look for this thick layer to continue across Trinidad and Tobago and the Lesser Antilles. It will feel hot, 34 degrees Celsius in Trinidad and 31 degrees Celsius in Tobago. It will be breezy at times, so offshore sailors can expect easterly winds of 15 to 20 knots with some white caps, but there will still be that long northerly swell every 12 seconds, bringing wind waves of 2 to 2.5 meters through the Caribbean and the Atlantic. Tide is low at 6:30 p.m. That's the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Dina Wallace.
Payless Trinidad and Tobago will not be affected by the restructuring currently being undertaken by the company in the United States. The company announced that they would be closing nearly 400 underperforming stores in the U.S. and Puerto Rico, while also accessing the real estate lease portfolio either by modifying terms or evaluating closures of additional locations. Now, in a release, Payless confirmed Latin American stores, including Trinidad and Tobago, are not affected in the restructure. They added, "Our goals are very clear: strengthen our balance sheet and restructure Payless debt load. Invest in specific areas that Payless believes will provide sustainable growth." To other news now, in the Senate on Tuesday, Minister of Finance Com Imbert lobbied for the upper house to approve the International Financial Organizations Bill 2017. Now, the bill would allow the government to access loans from the Andean Development Corporation for the purpose of financing development projects. The opposition accused the government of being on a borrowing spree.
The estimated expenditure in 2017 is $52 billion. With a revenue of $46 billion, that leaves a deficit of $6 billion. The finance minister said while the deficit was financed with the recent withdrawal of $1.7 billion from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, there's still a deficit of $4.3 billion. He said the balance of the financing must come from borrowing.
Andean Corporation, the Andean Development Corporation, approved a loan for Trinidad and Tobago in the amount of $300 million US, a policy loan to allow us to do our institutional strengthening and diversification and so on. But there was no disbursement of that loan because that was impossible. In order to actually access that loan, we have to pass this law.
The finance minister said accessing funding in foreign currency will immediately assist with the country's foreign reserves. And he said having put $2 billion into the Andean Development Corporation, it would be foolhardy for Trinidad and Tobago not to complete the work necessary to access benefits gained from the membership.
And the $300 million US that we intend to borrow from the Andean Development Corporation will boost our foreign reserves by a further $300 million US. So that's $551 million US that will go into our foreign reserves and assist us at this time when there are heavy demands on our foreign exchange.
But opposition Senator Wade Mark expressed concern that the government was on both a spending and borrowing spree and fears the country was not getting value for money.
Madam President, between September of 2015 to today's date, they have borrowed over $20 billion. And when you look to Trinidad and Tobago to see where that $20 billion has gone, Madam President, we can't see it.
Senator Mark asked for a provision that compels government to come to Parliament and share what projects and programs are being accessed to qualify for certain loans.
While on his return to the Senate on Tuesday, the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Franklin Can, said the government is not borrowing recklessly but prudently. He explained there's a significant drop in Trinidad and Tobago's revenue.
We are curtailing our expenditure, and we're trying as a responsible and prudent government as to how we fund our deficit. And we plan to come out of deficit budgeting by 2020. A lot will depend on oil price, gas production.
Although there's a drop in revenue, Minister Khan said government is doing what it can to restore a steady revenue flow.
Together with energy, we are working on diversification. Because I say this without fear of contradiction, I say this with the greatest sense of humility. that the People's National Movement Administration are good managers. And I want to give the country this assurance that despite the challenges we face, I think the economy is still in good hands and we will come out of it very shortly. Madam President,
Well, we now have our sport report with Nasira Mohammed. She tells us about a new appointment on the West Indies team.
That's correct, Karen. There's a new appointment in the bowling department. The West Indies Cricket Board announced that Rajendra Danraj has joined the West Indies men's team coaching staff as spin bowling consultant. Moving on to IPL cricket now. Well, cricket fans may know by now that IPL started back today with its opening match currently underway. Chris Gayle is lining up for the Royal Challengers Bangalore as they take on Sunrisers Hyderabad at the Rajiv Gandhi Stadium in Hyderabad. The game features a bit of history as Rashid Khan was handed an IPL debut, making him the first Afghanistan player to feature in the IPL. The Royal Challengers won the toss and sent Sunrisers into bat first, but it looks like Gayle and company will have a stiff chase as Sunrisers lit up the scoreboard. Followed by 50s from Moses Enriquez and Yuvraj Singh, they were 207 for 4 with 1 ball remaining. And Trinidad and Tobago's senior men will travel to St. George's, Grenada to play the Grenada men's senior team in an international friendly on April 29th. The match will be part of the official opening of the Grenada National Football League. Trinidad and Tobago head coach Dennis Lawrence will use the match as another tune-up for his home-based players as the country looks ahead to the 2018 World Cup qualifier away to the United States on June 8th and Costa Rica on June 13th. The 29th annual Rotary District Games took place yesterday at the Hasty Crawford Stadium in Port of Spain, and once again it was a hit with the students and schools taking part. Over the course of the history of the Games, several of this country's top athletes, Olympians included, have taken their first steps in actual competition at the Rotary Games. And of course, what would any school sport be without the march past? And earlier, it was the students of Sacred Hearts who were the winners, getting the judges' nod for their near faultless routine. And that's it for sport for today.
And that's the C News at Noon report. I'm Karen Kozia-Phillip.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed.
Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the C News website at ctvtt.com.